Here's something that should be mathematically impossible. Right now, people in their 50s and 60s are sitting on more home equity than almost any generation before them. By the most basic rule of money, when you have more than enough to make a move, you make it. That's not some complicated theory. That's just common sense. You learn it the first time you saved enough to finally buy something you've been waiting on. And yet homes are selling at the slowest pace in 30 years. The people who can move the easiest, the ones with the most equity and the least to lose, are the ones staying put the longest. If you watch your own home's value climb for years, told yourself this is a year you'll downsize or cash out, and then just didn't, you already know something doesn't add up. You just can't say what. My name is Jameson, and this channel breaks down the money decisions most people your age are quietly stressed about, the ones real estate agents and financial media won't explain plainly, because it doesn't help their numbers. Today, we're laying out every domino that led to this exact moment, in order with the real numbers, so you can see exactly why the market is frozen and what it actually means for your plans. If that's the kind of thing you want more of, hit subscribe. Now, let's start at the beginning. Let's start with the numbers, because numbers don't lie even when the market feels confusing. The typical home in America costs around $418,000 today. Back in 2019, just 7 years ago, that same typical home cost $272,000. That's a jump of 46%. Now, picture the exact same house. Same walls, same roof, same yard. If you bought it in 2021 with a normal loan, your monthly payment would be about $1,300. Buy that same house today, and your payment jumps to over $2,000 a month. That's $730 extra every single month for 30 years straight, just for the same four walls. This isn't bad luck. It's not random chaos either. It's the result of a chain of events that build on each other over the last 5 years. And once you see that chain piece by piece, this whole confusing market stops feeling crazy and starts making sense. It all starts in 2020. The world shut down and the Federal Reserve panicked. To stop the economy from collapsing, they slashed interest rates down to almost zero and started pumping billions of dollars into the system every single month. Think of it like dumping gasoline on a dying campfire to keep it burning. It worked, but it also got way out of control fast. By January 2021, the average mortgage rate hit 2.65%. That's the lowest rate ever recorded since 1971. For the first time in decades, people could afford a much bigger house for the same monthly payment they were already used to paying. So people who have been sitting on the fence, waiting, watching, hesitating, suddenly jumped. They bought, and then their neighbors bought, and then everyone wanted in before the window closed. Nobody forced them. The math itself was just too good to ignore. Then came 2022, and inflation hit a 40-year high. To fight it, the Fed did something it almost never does. It raised interest rates 11 times in just 16 months. It was the fastest rate hike in 4 decades. Mortgage rates shot up right along with it, climbing from around 3% at the start of that year to nearly 8% by late 2023. Here's what that actually means in dollars. To buy the typical home today, you need to earn around $116,000 a year just to comfortably afford the payment. But the typical household only brings in about $83,700. That's a gap of over $30,000 a year, just to qualify for an average house. And this gap grows with every small move the Fed makes. Each time mortgage rates rise by just 1/4 of a point, roughly 1.4 million more buyers get priced out of the market completely. Not slowed down, pushed out entirely. Here's the part that should genuinely break your brain. Right now, more than half of all homeowners in America have a mortgage rate below 4%. About 1 in 5 have a rate below 3%. If that's you, you're holding on to something the bank simply cannot offer anymore. It's gone, like a toy that got discontinued and never came back to the shelf. So here's what happens. If you sell your home and buy a new one today, you're not just moving. You're trading away your old cheap rate for a new expensive one. On an average loan, that swap can cost you over $700 more every single month for as long as you hold that new mortgage. Researchers at the Federal Reserve found that this single decision cost the average homeowner more than $65,000 over time, just in extra interest. So even when people want to sell, downsize, or move closer to family, the math holds them back. The Atlanta Fed found this effect alone makes homeowners 20% less likely to list their house at all. It's not that people don't want to move. It's that the door is stuck. Nobody's holding it shut on purpose. It just won't open. Meet Diane. She's 58, works as an office manager, and brings home about $78,000 a year. She's not in debt. She's got $40,000 in savings and a credit score over 750. Her kids are grown and gone, and she's been ready to downsize into a smaller place for 2 years now. Here's her math. Diane owns her current home outright, locked in at a mortgage rate near 3%. If she sells it and buys a smaller home today, she'd need a new mortgage at almost 7%. Even on a smaller, cheaper house, her new monthly payment will be higher than what she pays now. Add property taxes, insurance, and basic upkeep, and Diane would spend more money every month to live in less space. The verdict: she fails the math, even though by every other measure she's exactly the kind of buyer the system should reward. Here's what that actually feels like. It feels like keeping 3 empty bedrooms you don't need because moving costs more than staying. It feels like watching younger neighbors list their starter homes and realizing you're stuck in the same spot they're trying to escape. IT feels like doing everything responsibly your whole life and still getting boxed in. Diane isn't alone. Right now, baby boomers make up 42% of all home buyers, and half of older boomers are paying in cash just to dodge this exact trap. Millions of people her age are stuck holding on to homes that no longer fit their life, simply because the math punishes them for moving. You might be wondering if this looks like 2008 all over again. It doesn't, and the numbers prove it. Back in 2008, risky loans made up about 1 in 5 mortgages, and people bought homes with almost no proof of income. Today, risky loans make up less than 4% of all mortgages. The average credit score for a new mortgage is 758, 50 points higher than back then. And here's the biggest difference. In 2009, more than a quarter of all mortgages were underwater, meaning people owed more than their home was worth. Today, that number sits at just 2%. This isn't a bubble built on bad loans. It's a shortage problem. And that shortage didn't start in 2020. It started after the last housing crash, when builders got burned so badly, they pulled back for an entire decade. All through the 2010s, builders put up far fewer homes than the country actually needed, especially the smaller, affordable starter homes that used to be the first step onto the property ladder. Those simple houses nearly disappeared from new construction completely. That's the real root cause. You can't undo 15 years of underbuilding with one good policy or one rate cut. It takes years of steady construction to refill a hole that deep, and there's no shortcut around that kind of math. So where does this go from here? Most experts expect mortgage rates to drift down a little this year, maybe settling closer to 6%. That would help somewhat. But here's the twist almost nobody talks about. If rates drop fast, everyone who's been waiting on the sidelines could rush back in at once. Since the supply problem still isn't fixed, that flood of buyers could push prices right back up, maybe even faster than before. The fix everyone's hoping for could end up squeezing the market tighter for a while before it loosens anything. So what do you actually do with this? Here's a simple rule. If your full housing costs, including taxes and insurance, stays under 30% of what you bring home, and you plan to stay put for at least 7 years, moving can still make sense. If it doesn't meet that bar, it's okay to wait. Waiting isn't failure. It's strategy. And if moving doesn't make sense right now, that's not a dead end. Staying put, investing your savings instead, and letting your current low rate keep working for you is a completely legitimate plan. Even if no real estate agent will ever say that out loud, because nobody earns a commission off you staying home. If you felt stuck, confused, or like you're somehow doing this wrong, you're not. The math broke, not you. If this helped you make sense of what's actually happening, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown like this one.